Welcome to Sinister Journal, your go-to channel for the best true crime documentaries. Today we're exploring shocking cases of families torn apart by crime. From seemingly perfect households shattered by betrayal to mysteries that linger unsolved, these stories expose the devastating impact of violence within families. We'll dive into 5 cases that gripped the nation, each revealing a unique angle on this dark theme. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Let's start with our first case, the Menendez brothers. In the heart of Beverly Hills, where wealth and privilege often mask darker truths, this story of a family torn apart by greed, trauma, and violence began. In Beverly Hills, California, the Menendez family projected an image of success. Jose Menendez, a Cuban immigrant who rose to prominence as an entertainment executive, lived in a $5 million mansion with his wife Kitty and their sons, Lyle and Eric. Yet behind this facade of wealth, a troubled dynamic simmered. On August 20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty were savagely murdered in their den. Jose was killed instantly with a 12-gauge shotgun blast to the back of his head. Kitty, attempting to escape, was shot multiple times, with a final round to her face ending her life. The den was littered with spent shotgun shells, and the walls were splattered with blood. The brutality of the attack suggested a personal motive rather than a professional hit. Lyle, 21, and Eric, 18, claimed they found their parents' bodies after returning from a movie. Lyle's frantic 911 call, "Someone killed my parents," initially convinced police. Early theories pointed to a mob hit linked to Jose's business, but evidence was lacking. Meanwhile, the brothers' actions drew scrutiny. Within months, they spent over $700,000 of their inheritance on lavish purchases, including Porsches, Rolexes, and a failed restaurant investment. They threw extravagant parties, went on shopping sprees, and even purchased a condominium in Marina del Rey. The case broke open when Eric confessed to his psychologist, Dr. Jerry Oziel, that he and Lyle had planned the murders. Oziel's mistress, Judalon Smythe, tipped off authorities, sparking a legal battle over confidentiality. Despite this, the brothers were arrested in March 1990. The 1993 trials captivated the nation. The defense claimed Lyle and Eric acted in self-defense, alleging years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse by Jose, with Kitty enabling it. They portrayed the killings as a last resort. Prosecutors countered that the motive was greed, citing the $14 million estate. The first trials ended in deadlocks, with juries split over the abuse narrative. The trials were marred by controversies, including allegations of jury tampering and the admissibility of the confession tapes. The defense team's strategy to portray the brothers as victims of abuse was met with skepticism by many legal experts. A 1995 retrial shifted the outcome. The judge restricted abuse evidence and banned cameras, focusing attention on the prosecution's case. In 1996, both brothers were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Lyle was sent to Mule Creek State Prison and Eric to the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. The Menendez case remains divisive. Advocates argue the abuse claims were mishandled, while detractors see the brothers as entitled killers. It probes complex issues: wealth, family dysfunction, and justice. Were the brothers cunning liars or victims pushed to desperation? Decades later, the ambiguity endures, fueling ongoing debate. The Menendez brothers' case had a lasting impact on the legal system, particularly in how abuse claims are handled in murder trials. It also sparked discussions about the influence of wealth and privilege in the justice system. The media coverage turned the case into a spectacle, with tabloids and news outlets dissecting every detail of the brothers' lives. Public opinion was divided, with some sympathizing with the alleged abuse victims and others condemning them as cold-blooded killers. From the sun-drenched luxury of Beverly Hills, where the Menendez family's tragedy unfolded amidst wealth and privilege, we shift our gaze to the tranquil suburbs of Frederick, Colorado. There, in a home that appeared to be a sanctuary of familial bliss, Chris Watts harbored a secret that would shatter lives and stun the nation. In Frederick, Colorado, Chris Watts appeared to be a devoted husband and father. He lived with his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their two daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3. However, beneath this veneer of normalcy, a storm was brewing. On August 13, 2018, Shanann, 15 weeks pregnant with their son Nico, vanished after returning from a business trip. Her friend Atkinson grew concerned when Shanann missed a doctor's appointment and stopped responding to messages. Atkinson alerted police, who arrived at the Watts home to find Shanann's car, purse, and medication still inside. Chris claimed Shanann had left after an argument, but her belongings suggested otherwise. Neighbor Nate Trinastic's security footage showed Chris loading his truck early that morning, no sign of Shanann leaving. Chris's nervous behavior during interviews and a failed polygraph test heightened suspicions. Under pressure, he confessed, he killed Shanann after she allegedly strangled the girls in a rage over his affair. But evidence contradicted this. Investigators uncovered Chris's affair with Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker. Text messages revealed he'd been planning a new life with her. On August 15th, Chris led authorities to an oil field where he worked. There they found Shanann buried in a shallow grave and the girls submerged in oil tanks. Autopsies showed Bella and Celeste had been smothered, not strangled by Shanann. Chris had strangled Shanann in their bed after she confronted him about the affair. He then drove to the oil site with her body and the still living girls. At the site, he smothered Celeste first, then Bella, who pleaded, "Daddy, no!" before he killed her too. He disposed of their bodies callously, showing no remorse. The case horrified the public. Chris's calm demeanor in early interviews, juxtaposed with his monstrous actions, baffled psychologists. In November 2018, he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of child murder, 1 count of unlawful termination of pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body. He received 5 life sentences without parole. Why did Chris annihilate his family? Some cite his desire to start anew with Kessinger, who was unaware of his marriage's state. Others point to financial stress. Shanann's social media portrayed a perfect life, but they were drowning in debt. The case underscores domestic violence's hidden nature and the dangers of toxic relationships. Chris Watts's actions remain inexplicable to many. His family's senseless loss and his calculated deception continue to haunt true crime audiences. The case also highlights law enforcement's swift action, with investigators piecing together the truth in days, preventing Chris from escaping justice. As the shadow of Chris Watts's betrayal lingers, we are compelled to explore further into the abyss of human nature. What transforms love into lethal obsession? The next chapter in Sinister Journal beckons, promising insights into yet another family's descent into darkness. In the quiet town of Paris, California, David and Louise Turpin live with their 13 children, whose ages span from 2 to 29. To outsiders, they appeared as an eccentric, homeschooling family, occasionally spotted in matching outfits during rare outings to Disneyland. These public appearances painted a picture of quirky unity, but on January 14th, 2018, the facade shattered when their 17-year-old daughter, Jordan, executed a daring escape. Climbing through a window with a deactivated cell phone she had found, she dialed 911, her trembling voice unveiling a nightmare that had been hidden for decades. When police entered the Turpin home, they were met with a scene of abject horror. 12 siblings, ranging from young children to adults, were discovered in deplorable conditions, some shackled to their beds with chains and padlocks, unable to move. The children were severely malnourished. The oldest, a 29-year-old woman, weighed a mere 82 pounds, her frail frame a testament to years of deprivation. The house smelled of decay, with piles of human waste, rotting food, and trash strewn across the floors. The Turpins had imposed a draconian regime: one meager meal per day, showers limited to once a year, and a prohibition on basic hygiene. Physical abuse was rampant. Beatings and strangulation served as punishment for trivial acts like touching a toy or speaking out of turn. David Turpin, 57, was an engineer with a steady job, while Louise, 50, was a homemaker who orchestrated the household's terror. They wielded control through fear and isolation. Refrigerators and pantries were padlocked to deny the children access to food, and toys remained unopened in their original packaging, a cruel mockery of childhood. Having relocated from Texas to California years earlier, the family kept a low profile. Neighbors rarely glimpsed the children, who were confined indoors under the guise of homeschooling. At the time, California's lax homeschooling regulations required no oversight or inspections, providing a shield for the Turpins' atrocities to fester undetected. The abuse had intensified over time, rooted in a dynamic of domination. Louise's sister later spoke of David's controlling demeanor, recalling how he dictated every aspect of family life, yet no one outside the home intervened. Despite their skeletal appearances, the children were forced to pose for smiling family photos, a chilling effort to maintain an illusion of normalcy. Jordan's escape was no impulsive act. Inspired by movies she had secretly watched, she planned it meticulously over 2 years with her siblings, who dreamed of freedom despite their captivity. Upon rescue, authorities were stunned by the siblings' physical condition. The adult children were so stunted by malnutrition that police initially mistook them for minors. Their education was rudimentary at best, limited to basic reading and writing, yet they harbored ambitious dreams. One longed to become a doctor, another a writer. Their resilience shone through as they recounted their covert plans for liberation, a testament to their unbroken spirits. In 2019, David and Louise Turpin faced justice. They pleaded guilty to 14 counts each, including torture, false imprisonment, and child abuse, and were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The courtroom was heavy with emotion. Louise offered tearful remorse, claiming she loved her children, while David remained stoic, offering no words. The judge condemned their actions as selfish, cruel, and inhuman, a sentiment echoed by a nation reeling from the case's revelations. The Turpin case spurred California to overhaul its homeschooling laws, mandating annual inspections and record-keeping to ensure child welfare, a direct response to the systemic failures that allowed the abuse to persist. Today, the Turpin siblings are reclaiming their lives. Placed in foster care and group homes, they've been supported by millions in public donations. Some have enrolled in college, studying subjects like math and literature, while others are mastering everyday skills: how to shop, cook, or manage finances, tasks foreign to them after years of confinement. Their recovery is a slow, ongoing process, shadowed by deep trauma, but their courage offers a glimmer of hope amidst the wreckage of their past. While the Turpin family's horrors unfolded behind locked doors and staged smiles, another tragedy emerged where a polished public image concealed a lethal truth. The Hart Family Crash stunned the nation, exposing how carefully curated appearances, whether through Disneyland trips or social media posts, can mask unimaginable cruelty, urging us to question what lies beneath the surface. On March 26, 2018, a devastating scene unfolded along California's rugged Highway 1. An SUV lay crumpled at the base of a 100-foot cliff. Its passengers, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, and their 6 adopted children, dead in what first appeared to be a tragic accident. But as investigators pieced together the evidence, a darker truth emerged. Jennifer Hart had deliberately driven her family to their deaths in a calculated act of murder-suicide. Jennifer, 38, and Sarah, 39, both white, had crafted an enviable public persona as a progressive, loving couple. They adopted 6 black children: Marcus, 19, Hannah, 16, Devontae, 15, Abigail, 14, Jeremiah, 14, and Sierra, 12, from Texas, presenting themselves as champions of diversity and social justice. Their social media accounts brimmed with images of family road trips, music festivals, and protests, including a viral 2014 photo of Devontae tearfully hugging a police officer during a Ferguson rally. To followers, they were a beacon of harmony and activism. Yet behind this veneer, the children suffered relentless abuse. Investigations uncovered a history of neglect and violence that spanned years in states: Minnesota, Oregon, and Washington. In 2010, Sarah pleaded guilty to physically abusing Abigail, leaving visible bruises, and in 2018, Washington child welfare authorities launched a probe into reports of food deprivation. The family's frequent moves coincided with mounting complaints, a pattern suggesting an attempt to evade scrutiny. In the days before the crash, neighbors in Washington grew alarmed. The children, gaunt and desperate, knocked on doors begging for food. Devontae confided that his mothers withheld meals as punishment, sometimes for days. On March 23rd, Jennifer packed the family into their SUV and drove south to California. Data from the vehicle's computer revealed a chilling sequence. Jennifer accelerated for 70 feet at 90 miles per hour before plunging off the cliff without braking, a deliberate act executed with cold precision. Autopsies deepened the tragedy's horror. Sarah and 2 children had high levels of diphenhydramine, a sedating antihistamine, in their systems, while Jennifer's blood alcohol content exceeded the legal limit. Toxicology reports suggested she had drugged her family before the fatal descent, ensuring their compliance. No note explained her actions, but the evidence screamed premeditation. What drove Jennifer Hart to this extreme? Friends described her as domineering, fixated on preserving her family's flawless image. Financial woes and legal pressures, from child welfare investigations to unpaid bills, were closing in. As their facade crumbled, Jennifer's desperation may have fueled her decision to end it all, taking her family with her in a final, twisted act of control. The Hart children's deaths laid bare gaping flaws in the adoption and child welfare systems. Red flags abounded. Hannah's 2018 escape to a neighbor's home, pleading for protection, was one of many cries for help ignored. The tragedy exposed the risks of performative parenting and the urgent need for rigorous oversight in adoptive homes, particularly across state lines. It left communities questioning how such vibrant lives, Marcus, a musician, Hannah, a storyteller, were silenced so abruptly. The Hart Family Crash haunts as a stark warning. Beneath polished posts and public smiles, darkness can thrive unchecked. 6 children, brimming with potential, perished in a moment of despair, their loss a call to safeguard the vulnerable with unwavering vigilance. The Turpin and Hart cases, though distinct in their execution, share a chilling thread: abuse cloaked by outward normalcy. Both tragedies underscore the necessity of community awareness, robust legal oversight in homeschooling and adoption, and a willingness to probe beyond appearances. As the Turpin siblings rebuild and the Hart children's memory endures, their stories demand we protect the voiceless, not with silence, but with action. Leaving behind the calculated tragedy of the Hart family, we now turn to a case that has baffled investigators and the public for decades: the JonBenét Ramsey murder, a mystery where family ties, media frenzy, and unanswered questions collide. On the morning of December 26, 1996, a chilling discovery thrust the Ramsey family into a nightmare that would captivate and confound the world. 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey, a child beauty queen, was found dead in the basement of her family's upscale Boulder, Colorado home. Her murder, marked by brutality and enigma, remains one of America's most enduring unsolved mysteries. A case where every clue seems to deepen the shadows rather than illuminate the truth. The ordeal began when Patsy Ramsey, JonBenét's mother, stumbled upon a bizarre 2.5-page ransom note demanding $118,000 for her daughter's safe return. The sum was strikingly specific, mirroring John Ramsey's recent work bonus, and the note, written on paper from the house, was unusually verbose, hinting at calculated deception. Hours later, John discovered JonBenét's body in the basement, her skull fractured, her neck strangled with a garrote, and her mouth sealed with duct tape. The crime scene, however, was a forensic disaster. Boulder police failed to secure it, allowing family friends to wander through, and John's handling of the body further muddied the evidence. What should have been a meticulous investigation dissolved into chaos from the start. Suspicion swiftly turned to the Ramseys. The ransom note's peculiarities, its origin within the home, and handwriting some link to Patsy, raised questions. Why would a kidnapper leave a body behind? Why demand a sum tied to the family's finances? In 1999, a grand jury voted to indict John and Patsy for child abuse, resulting in death, but the district attorney, citing insufficient evidence, declined to prosecute. The Ramseys insisted on their innocence, yet the cloud of doubt lingered. Other theories tantalized investigators. In 2006, John Mark Carr confessed, only for DNA to disprove his claim. Then in 2008, advanced testing revealed DNA from an unknown male on JonBenét's clothing, prompting an official exoneration of the Ramseys. Skeptics, however, argued this could be incidental, a trace from elsewhere, not the killer. Each lead seemed to twist the case further into ambiguity. The Ramsey family bore the weight of unrelenting scrutiny. Patsy succumbed to ovarian cancer in 2006, justice still out of reach. John remarried, seeking a new chapter, while Burke, JonBenét's older brother, faced baseless public accusations. In a 2016 interview, Burke denied involvement, but his unease only stoked more speculation. The media, meanwhile, turned tragedy into a circus. Tabloids splashed JonBenét's pageant photos across headlines, framing her parents as villains draped in privilege, their wealth a lens for envy and judgment. Why does this case remain unsolved? The Boulder police, novices in homicide, botched the crime scene, losing vital evidence. Media sensationalism warped perceptions, drowning facts in conjecture. Decades later, JonBenét's murder endures as a haunting puzzle. A little girl lost, a family fractured, and a nation left wondering. As we close this journey through families torn by crime, JonBenét's story reminds us of justice's fragility. These tragedies demand more than curiosity. They call for action, advocate for rigorous investigations, demand accountability in policing, and support a media that seeks truth over spectacle. In honoring the victims, we can forge a legacy of vigilance, ensuring that even in the darkest mysteries, hope persists. And that concludes our deep dive into this fascinating case. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next investigation into the world's most compelling stories. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious and stay safe.